Dear viewer, you are welcome to this lesson. We are going to be continuing from where we ended last time. And to remind you, we are looking at the major resources in East Africa, and we are still on vegetation. That is under one of the resources that we have in East Africa. So this is primary 6, as I said, and we are going to begin our discussion from page 34. 34 gives us what we call agro-based industries, and of course this lesson has come to follow what we discussed in the previous one that was about crops grown. So we need to note that we have what we call the industries that we call agro-based industries. Here we are going to get agro comes from the word agriculture. Agriculture. Of course, with agriculture, we look at crop growing. We look at crop growing, and then animal rearing. Animal rearing. Or we can call it animal farming. So, these are the two things that we need to know. Therefore, agro-based means this industry is based on what? On these agricultural materials or agricultural products. So, we are going to say agro-based industries, agro-based, not based, based, agro-based industries are the industries that depend on agricultural products. That depend on agricultural products as their raw materials. That is what we need to note when we are talking about agro-based industries. We say agro deals with agriculture, and in agriculture we have crop growing and animal rearing. Therefore, agro-based industries, we are looking at the industries that depend on the agricultural products as their raw materials. Remember we said in the previous lesson, to remind you, we said a raw material, because by now you should be able to tell what I mean by raw material. A raw material is an item used to make another product. The other time we call these products finished goods. Call them finished goods. So these products that we are looking at, and they are from agriculture, and they are used to make other products. They are processed in these factories. They are processed in these industries. Those industries that use them are the ones we call agro-based industries. Let's look at the examples of such industries. The first one, we have tanning industry. We have the tanning industry. Tanning. That is the first agro-based industry that we are having in our workbook. We are saying that the tanning industry is where leather is turned into finished products or finished goods, which can be used for making other products like belts, shoes, bags, and so on. Those are the ones we call the leather products. So that industry is what we call the tanning industry. And then we have what we call the ginnery. We have ginnery. Here we are looking at leather being processed. Leather is from a tree, is from a plant. Of which plant? Is from agriculture. So that one is what qualifies it to be agro-based industry. We have ginnery, that is a place where cotton is separated from the lint. We have cotton seeds removed and the product remains as the lint. That's why we are having it in our workbook saying ginnery is a place where cotton lint is separated from the cotton seeds. The seeds removed from the lint. So what is used here? Cotton. Where is cotton from? From the garden, crop growing. That is part of agriculture. That's why we are calling this agro-based. I want us to understand this. The next is the same. Spinning mill. Spinning. Still under cotton. Still cotton used. Spinning mill, we are saying, is where cotton is processed into threads. That process called threading. That after this cotton seeds being removed, this lint is now processed and they begin now making threads out of the lint. That is what we call spinning. And remember, all this takes place in what we call a textile industry. Textile. And then we also need to note that we have industries like Lugazi, industries like Kakira. What is made in those places? They make sugar. Now we ask ourselves, what do they use for making sugar? They use sugar cane. Where is the sugar cane got from? From agriculture, from the garden. That is under agriculture. So these sugar processing industries, as we have them there, we have sugar processing industries or sugar factories. Sugar factories. What is used here? Sugar cane. Sugar cane, which is a crop from where? From the garden. That is under agriculture. So for that we shall be able to note that these sugar factories or sugar processing industries are also under agro-based. We have pulp industry. Pulp industry. Pulp industry can also be called paper industry. Paper industry. I think I have simplified it now. Pulp or paper industry, which means we are now looking at the ones that help us to make papers. For example, in your workbook, you have these are the papers that are used. that are made from this, and this is from the softwood that we say, and that softwood is from the garden, is from agriculture. For that, it makes us to understand what we call agro-based industries. Industries that depend on agricultural products as their raw materials. They are the ones. An example, a factory which makes cigarettes. I want to look at that. What is used for making cigarettes? Tobacco. Where is tobacco from? From the garden, under agriculture. So that factory is what we call agro-based. Look at the one which makes tea leaves. Tea leaves made from where? Made from the tea plant. So the tea as a crop is processed in that factory that we call the tea processing factory. That one becomes automatically an agro-based industry. So we need to note that these agro-based industries are the industries that depend on agricultural products as their raw materials. We need to go and we look at what we call agricultural mechanization. That is under the modern methods of farming, agricultural or agriculture mechanization. Mechanization. in East Africa. This agriculture mechanization, sometimes we can also call it mechanized agriculture. Mechanized agriculture. Simply what we mean here is we are looking at using machines. This is the use of machines to do work, to do agricultural work. For example, you find that, and this one is done on a large scale, it's done on plantation farms. I remember we talked about plantation farms in the previous lesson. We said an area where a single perennial crop is grown on a large scale for commercial purposes. One perennial crop. For example, tea as a crop. We say that you can find tea grown on a large scale. And now what happens here is these gardens or these large pieces of land are cultivated using machines. And some of these crops, even when it comes to weeding, when it comes to harvesting, they are harvested using these machines. So that is what we call agriculture mechanization, use of machines for doing agricultural work. The machines which can be used include the ox plow, the plows rather, not the ox plow. Then we have tractors, and then we have what we call the combined harvesters. These ones are mainly for harvesting. And then we are going to look at the advantages and then the disadvantages of agricultural mechanization. Advantages. Advantages of agricultural mechanization. The first one we are saying, it saves time. It saves time. Imagine they are going to use a tractor to plow a large piece of land. So what they do, someone just sits on that tractor and it's operated. Within the shortest time possible, it will have finished to plow a very large piece of land. So it saves time. Two, the other advantage is it simplifies work. That is, as it saves time, work is simple. It simplifies work. That is, work is done in a very simple way. It's not tiresome, like you were to use maybe hands and you begin plowing, digging the soil. That one, by the time you finish, you will be too tired. But now here, someone just operates the tractor and it moves, it comes back like that, and someone just even be enjoying it. And when it comes to the other one says it requires less human labor. It requires less human labor. Those are the advantages. And finally, this kind of agriculture can result into good or high crop yield. Then we have the disadvantages. Disadvantages. What are the disadvantages of using machines? The first disadvantage is this method is expensive. I want you to note that. When it comes to buying these machines, you will find that one has to be with some good money. So we shall say it's expensive to buy those machines. Apart from being expensive, we also need to note that this type of farming requires skills. One should be able to have the skill, to have the knowledge of operating those machines. If not, then it cannot be possible. So we shall say it requires skills to operate machines. One should be having the knowledge of operating or running these machines. And then we're saying that this type of farming cannot be applicable or cannot be used in some areas. For example, we have hilly areas. We have some areas where those tractors cannot be able to climb. So we are going to say as our third one, it's not applicable in hilly areas. And this is because of the nature of, or due to the topography of such places. You will find that tractors may not be able to go across the hills. They might end up falling. So that is why that method may not be good in some other areas. And lastly, we shall say that this kind of farming creates a lot of unemployment. How? There are very many people who will be left unemployed or without jobs. Imagine a large area of land which was meant to be maybe cultivated by around maybe 20 people, and you find only one person operating the tractor and he finishes it within the shortest time. So others are left jobless. So for that case, we are having a statement saying that it leads to unemployment. It leads to unemployment. Some people will not have jobs. Only one person will have finished all the work. So for that, we shall have got the disadvantages of this type of farming that we call agricultural or agriculture mechanization. I want us to go to page 36 and we discuss what we call irrigation farming. Irrigation farming. Irrigation farming. Now, in this subheading, we are going to have more of revision. In primary 5, we learned about irrigation in Uganda. We looked at the meaning of irrigation. We looked at the different irrigation schemes. Those are the areas where irrigation is carried out. So we are just going to add on to what we had in our primary 5. We are going to have the same definition of irrigation. We can say is the artificial. Irrigation is the artificial supply of water to dry areas in order to make crop farming. In order to make crop farming what? Possible. So that is the definition for irrigation farming. We are saying irrigation farming is the artificial supply of water to dry areas in order to make crop farming possible. Which means an area is there, it does not receive reliable rainfall, does not receive a lot of rainfall. So what happens is this area can be made, a cultivable area. Cultivation can be done in such an area. How? Through irrigation, connecting water to that area. And that is what we call irrigation, the artificial supply of water to dry areas in order to make crop farming possible. In our books, we are saying the artificial watering of crops in drier areas. It is the same. And I've said the reason here is to make that area good for crop cultivation. That is to make crop cultivation or to make crop farming possible. So you don't have to get disturbed. We are talking of the same thing. Now, when we come to irrigation, we have methods. We have methods of irrigation. And mainly, we are going to look at, we have drip irrigation. Drip irrigation, whereby sometimes we can have, like, we find people tie a bottle or a container having water, then the water keeps on flowing to the crop. And then we have what we call overhead. This can also be called sprinkler irrigation. With sprinkler irrigation, we find water is connected and the pipes like spray the water over the crops. The pipe is taken, then the water is sprayed on the crops. That's what we call overhead irrigation or sprinkler irrigation. And then we have what we call gravitational flow. Gravitational flow, that we can call canal method. This is channeling water downwards. When this is where water is connected in channels, that is into or to drier areas. And then we have the one of buckets, and this one is done locally. Bucket irrigation. This one is done locally. You can get your watering can, whatever. You put water, and then you go and you provide the water to the crops. That is manually. We call it bucket irrigation. For that, we go to the advantages. Before we go to the irrigation schemes, we go to the advantages. The first advantage tells us that the crops here can be grown throughout the year. For this, there is nothing like this is the dry season, this is the wet season. No. In some other areas, you will find that people grow crops in the wet season. When the dry season comes, people wait. But with irrigation farming, crops can be grown throughout the year. Crops can be grown throughout the year, or we can simply say in both seasons of the year. Crops can be grown in both seasons of the year. Of course, I'm meaning both the dry and the wet season. So that is the first advantage. Advantage we have number 2 is it improves on the soil fertility. Remember, as the crops are receiving water throughout, you will find that the soil gets fertile, or the soil becomes fertile. So as a result of the soil fertility, the crops or the farmers are able to receive what they call high yields. The farmers get high yields because the crops get enough water. So it leads to high yields. And then, apart from leading to high yields, when we go to an irrigation scheme or irrigation area, you will find that there are very many people employed to take care of the crops which are there. So for that case, we can say irrigation creates jobs for the people. It creates jobs to people. Irrigation farming creates jobs for people. Then we got the disadvantages. We shall also be able to look at the disadvantages, because what we have been looking at were the advantages. And here we shall say the first disadvantage is this type of farming is very expensive. It requires a lot of money. Very expensive. It's very expensive to connect or to channel the water up to those dry areas. And also, we are saying people are there. People can be needed. So paying such people also becomes a burden to one. So for that we say it's very expensive. Then the other one is, if the method is poorly used, it can lead to soil erosion, and also it can lead to erosion if poorly used. And due to the continuous use of this land, it can bring what we call land or soil exhaustion. The soil becomes tired of being cultivated there season after season. Remember, we are saying this one, there is nothing like resting. Crops are produced throughout the year. So this can make the soil tired. Thereby bring what we call soil exhaustion. Soil exhaustion. The soil becomes tired. As simple as that. That is what we mean by soil exhaustion. So those are the disadvantages of irrigation farming that we have. Next, we are going to be looking at the irrigation schemes. Like I said, we already talked about this in primary 5. So we are going to look at the ones that we talked about in P5 and then others that we are adding in. Like we talked about tender irrigation scheme, that is Kibimba, can also be called Kibimba. And here we are saying it is mainly rice grown in that area, and the water source is from River Manafa. So that is the one that supplies water. Next is we have Mwea irrigation, which is having rice also mainly grown, and we have it on River Iba, that is in Kenya. And we have Doho irrigation scheme, still rice and still the same river Manafa. And we have Ahero pilot scheme, rice, maize, millet, these are cereals grown, and we get the water from River Nyang. We have Kilombero Valley in Tanzania, which is well known for sugarcane, and then we also have rice. And what we need to note is that some of these irrigation schemes, it is not only one crop, but we can have the major crop grown. However, there are other crops also grown in such schemes. So we have at Kilombero, we have River Kilombero and River Ruaha. And then we have West Kano in Kenya, whereby we are having rice and sugarcane from Lake Victoria. And then we have Galore in Kenya, cotton and groundnuts from Lake Tana. That is the water source. We have Mobuku irrigation scheme, that is in Kasese, in western Uganda. That is where we have mainly rice as the crop. However, we have also other crops like cotton, we have onions, tomatoes, beans, even maize is there, some citrus fruits are also there. This one gets water from River Mobuku. That is what we have as for the irrigation farms that we have in East Africa, most of them. And then we have also the perennial crops. This one we talked about perennial crops. We say perennial crops, these ones are grown on a large scale, and they are the ones that last for seasons in the garden. We looked at all that in the previous lesson. That's why I said you must have watched the other previous lesson before this. If you did not, then you make sure you access it, because it's what contains this lesson of perennial crops. Next, we are going to look at which problems these farmers face in East Africa as they try to do their activity of farming. And also, we shall be able to look at what do they do, or how are these farmers able to come out of such challenges, to come out of such problems. And our lesson shall be ending there. We are going to look at the problems or the challenges that the farmers of East Africa face. And the first problem is that these farmers do not have enough money to make their businesses progress. We can call that shortage of capital. They do not have enough money to get whatever they want, as in for their farms. Here we are looking at farmers who grow crops and also those who rear animals. We are looking at both of them, both groups. And then we have a problem of drought. This problem comes as a result of what we call prolonged sunshine. Prolonged sunshine. Remember, this is very bad to both a cattle farmer or the one of livestock and the one of arable farming. Because in the one of, like the one who grows crops, you will find the too much sunshine can dry the crops and he encounters a loss. The one who rears animals, the same. The animals may lack water to drink and end up beginning to die. So this problem cuts across. And then we have the problem of crop pests and diseases. Pests and diseases. Let's make it general. To cut across. Can be for the animals, can be for the crops. Pests and diseases are there affecting both. And then we have the problem of soil erosion. Soil erosion. This one is mainly for crop farmers. And also we have problems like landslides. Landslides. These ones are experienced in mountainous areas affecting crop farmers. We have the problem of floods. Can also come in that might sweep away all the crops. And also animals can be drowned by these floods and they end up dying. If not, these floods come with diseases that these animals can get and they begin dying. And as a result, a farmer gets a problem of, encounters a loss. We have poor transport network when it comes to selling the produce from the farm. These farmers face this problem. And then we have lack of ready market. Lack of ready market. I want you to be adding this to your book. Lack of ready market for one's produce. What we mean is a farmer has produced maize. He has grown maize and the maize is ready. Now coming to selling it, there is no ready market. Crops like tomatoes, a farmer has produced them. Coming to sell, no ready market. And those are crops that don't need to be preserved, to be kept for future. They end up rotting. And as a result, a farmer encounters a very serious problem. That also what brings what we call price fluctuation. Price fluctuation. As a P6 child, as a P6 child, as a semi-candidate, we should be able to tell what we call price fluctuation. This one we mean the varying prices of the goods or commodities in the market. You find the prices are not constant, they keep on going up and down. Today, the price is good, tomorrow you take yours, the price has gone down. So such things make a farmer not to enjoy the good or the benefits of his sweat, that is farming. We also need to look at the solutions to this. And I have always said that when it comes to the solutions to these problems, as a Senate candidate, I want you to know that a solution is derived from the problem. Meaning that a solution is got from the problem. We need to first identify the problem, then we shall end up giving what can be done then. So, we have the problem of shortage of capital. These farmers don't have enough money. What should be done? These people can get loans. By getting loans, we have what we call soft loans. By getting soft loans. That is solution to this problem. Then we have the problem of prolonged sunshine. Sometimes this prolonged sunshine comes due to people affecting the climate of an area, the environment. For example, the trees are no longer there to help in rain formation. So what can be done is people should plant trees by planting trees. And this will help to modify the climate of an area. The next problem is pests and diseases. This can be done, this can be solved by spraying, that is to kill the pests, by spraying, and we also have vaccinating, by spraying and vaccination, or treating the ones that are sick. And also we have quarantining those that are having a problem. For example, if some animals are being identified in a certain area having a serious disease, what the government does is to restrict movement of those animals such that they don't cross to other areas, because when they cross, they will spread the disease to them. So such animals are quarantined, they are restricted, they are put in one area, they are not allowed to move out of that place to go and meet others. So that will overcome the problem of pests and diseases. Soil erosion as a problem can be solved by having methods like terracing. Remember, we said in hilly areas, this is the best method for controlling soil erosion, by terracing. And also we have other methods like planting trees, still comes in here to control soil erosion in hilly areas. We have contour plowing, still in hilly areas, for controlling soil erosion, contour plowing. Both of these address the problem of soil erosion. Landslides can also be overcome by planting trees to bind the soil together, such that when it rains, it does not wash away these soil particles. And then we have the problem of floods. That also sometimes comes due to weather changes. So planting trees and the rest can also come there. Poor transport network, that is by improving on the roads. Two things can be done to solve the problem of poor road network: by improving on existing roads, or constructing new ones. Constructing new roads. So here two options work. The government can improve on the existing roads or to construct better ones, that is to ease transportation of these farmers from their areas of production to market areas for sale. For example, we say feeder roads. Remember when we were in primary 3, we talked about feeder roads. We say the feeder roads enable a farmer to transport his produce from his garden to the market area for sale. So that should be improved on. We have lack of ready market. This one can be solved by creating more marketplaces. Such that these farmers can be able to have where they can take their goods to sell. Dear semi-candidate, I beg to end there for this lesson, and I thank you for being part of it. Thank you for watching, and also keep on subscribing, keep on accessing more of these lessons, watch them, keep updated. I mean, keep learning. If you don't have the book, please talk to daddy or mommy such that they can get you your booklet for second term, as it is here, term 2, because you need it. Thank you. We shall meet again from there. Goodbye.